get the most out of this video, listen to the introduction to understand what is going to happen astrologically this week and when it will occur. Then use the timestamps in the description box or comments section below to go to your sun, moon, and rising signs to see how things will generally affect you. This is a general read of the astrological energies that will be playing out this week. For a specific assessment of how the planetary energies will affect you personally, I would suggest getting a reading with a professional astrologer. You can do so with me through the Guiding Star Astrology website. If you're new to astrology, you are so welcome on this platform. If you would like to learn to read your own astrology chart, you can do a short, fun course with me for $35 Australian. The link is in the description below. Thank you to all my YouTube subscribers and my Patreon family members. Without you, this video and its message would not be possible. Well, hello, my beautiful YouTube family. Thank you for joining me for this series where we're going to be looking at the sun through all the signs and houses. Looking at a sign and a house each week for the next 12 weeks. But before we get into this week's sign and house, what is the sun all about? Well, it's how we choose to build our kingdom in this earthly existence. For most people, this is usually done through a career and through some kind of worldly achievements. The sun represents that in a general sense in the horoscope. There are other factors that we look at as well when we're doing like a career reading or something like that, but the sun is always a key player. The sun is also how we choose to identify ourselves. You know, maybe if we have the sun in the 6th house, we will identify ourselves as a helper, somebody who fixes things, solves problems for others. Perhaps if we have the sun in the 9th house, we might identify ourselves as a wisdom giver, someone with a lot of knowledge. Maybe if we have the sun in the 1st house, we might see ourselves as something of a hero in the world, here to make a change, here to make a difference in the world. Remember though that these are stories that are given to us by, let's say, our ego. The sun actually represents our ego. And so these can sometimes be stories that we buy into for ego identification as well. The sun ruling our identity and ruling our egoic self as well. Now, the sun is also our self-confidence. And so it's where we need to focus our energy in order to grow our self-confidence. For example, if you have the sun in the 11th house, that is saying that if you want to increase your self-confidence in the world, establish greater networks, build your friendship circles, and you will grow your own personal self-confidence as well. You might even get a sense of self-confidence through being a great friend to somebody too. The sun is the natural ruler of the sign of Leo, and they're a little bit the same in their energies in a sense. You know, they're both fun energies, they're both playful, they're both creative, they're both glamorous, and it's all about being the best. Wherever Leo sits is all about where am I the king, the best. And the same with the sun. Where does the sun sit? It's all about being the best. It's all about shining brightly in the world. The sun is like a superstar energy. It's a diva kind of energy, the famous person, the king, the queen. All of us have a little bit of solar energy going on. We've all got the sun somewhere in the chart. Some people are expressing it right out there for the whole world to see, and some people are keeping their diva energy a bit to themselves, but it's still there. Everyone is a king or queen in their own way, in some realm in life. The sun is the reminder in the chart of our own superstar nature. And it also reminds us, well, at least I get reminded when I look at my sun, that other people have a right to be a superstar too, to shine their light, to shine their energy in some way in the world. And I'm not here to usurp other people's right to be a king or queen in their own way, in their own manner. I am only here to shine my light in the manner that I'm called to do so. The sun's placement also shows us, therefore, where we shine, For example, sun in the 6th house might indicate you shine best by helping other people, by fixing problems for other people, finding solutions in life for other people. The sun in the 2nd house might show that you can really shine in financial matters or in some sort of creation of self-sufficiency in some way. The sun in the 10th house obviously is a very strong place. The sun is at the highest point in the sky when the sun is in the 10th house, and usually means you're born at midday. And therefore, when the sun is in the 10th house, we can shine in career. We can shine in worldly achievements, in our reputation. So that's the sun energy, a bit in a nutshell. It is the most creative planet. Now, no planet has exclusive rights to creativity, but when it comes to creative intelligence, the sun does sort of have a leading role to play, obviously. It is the giver of vitality. If you think about as above, so below, the old Hermetic principle, if we have no sun, we have no life in the solar system. We'll be sitting on Earth, it would be completely dark, we wouldn't even be able to see the moon or the other planets or each other. There would be no light, no life, nada, nothing. So the vitality that we experience comes from the sun. Our vitality as individuals is seen through the placement of the sun and its good or bad aspects in our natal chart. Again, as above, so below, the sun is illuminating, giving light as well as vitality and growth. It's giving light and it's giving illumination, as I said. So it is actually connected to our ability to see, literally and figuratively. And often people with, just a little tidbit for you, people with the sun in the first house in their childhood will often tend to need glasses or may have some sort of eye issue until they sort of come into their own in later life, and they may not need glasses when they're older. So to be able to see in the house of the body, sun in the first house can sometimes indicate a need for glasses or that there are eye issues. And hence I'm wearing my glasses for this series because I'm getting older and my eyes need a bit of support, so hence glasses. So the sun, just to wrap up what it's all about, is also representative of fathers and father figures generally, and their influence or no influence in our lives. The sun in the 12th house may well represent that the father figure in a person's life might have been absent or missing or not around very much or disengaged or something like that. So in a nutshell, the sun is the symbol of the present you in this incarnation, the you and your role in this particular lifetime. How you envision yourself is the sun, how you identify yourself, what you aspire to be, your outer self, the self you give to the world, and how you want others to see you. That is what the sun is all about. And I should also add, the sun rules the color gold. Hence, I've got my gold top on. So in this series, we're going to be, as I said, going through each sign and each house that corresponds to the sign and looking at the characteristics that the sun gives when it's in each of those placements, how we can shine, how we can generate our self-confidence in these areas of life. And without further ado, let's dive right in to our sun, house, and sign placements. So we're going to begin this series by looking at the sun in either the first house or the sign of Aries. How is that going to express? Well, the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, so it's a wonderful position if you have the sun in Aries for a start. There's plenty of power here. Everything begins to grow in life when we have the sun in Aries. We get a spurt of new life. The sun is in the first sign of the horoscope. So when the sun is in Aries, it's springtime in the northern hemisphere. It's actually autumn in the southern hemisphere, so depending on where you are in the world. But the idea behind the sun in Aries is this new growth, new life, new blossoming that occurs with the sun in Aries. And that's kind of the vitality that you will experience if you have the sun in Aries. You'll also be kind of very driven, very ambitious, because Aries is a go-getter. Aries is the kind of energy that wants to be entrepreneurial. I'm doing it my way, not following what you say. I'm not listening to you. I'm doing it on my terms. Entrepreneurial, go-getter, going to make it happen, going to do it, going to instigate, going to start, going to be a pioneer. That's the energy of this placement. If you find that you are not feeling that energy and you have the sun in Aries or the first house, then there is something holding your sun back from expressing its true self. So essentially, it could be that you're not yet 30 when the sun reaches its maturation. So we see that we come into our own ability to be confident and to shine in the world mostly after the sun matures at the age of 30. So that's the first thing. If you're feeling like there's no ambition and drive in you and you've got this position, it's perhaps that the sun hasn't matured, or there might be mitigating factors in the chart that you might need to address and resolve. Have to have a look at your individual chart to determine that. But as I said, the sun is where we shine. And it tells us what kind of careers we can excel in. In the first house or in Aries, it's going to be competitive kind of careers. Careers where we're in competition, striving for the top spot, trying to win. Any careers that are like that. Any careers that are maybe military oriented. It could be where there's a bit of a challenge, a bit of excitement and adrenaline, like the Air Force or the Army, something like that, might be very well suited when we've got this placement. Any innovative kinds of careers where you're starting something new, you're beginning something new, you're instigating something. Energetic careers, sporting careers, being an Olympian or being on a competitive football team or something like that, being in the National Women's Hockey League, those sorts of things would be seen as career options when this is the case, sun in the first house or in the sign of Aries. As I said, you would also probably appreciate being autonomous in your workspace in some way as well with this. And if you don't work for yourself, you're likely to attract bosses because the sun is authority figures, not fingers, authority figures. You might attract bosses who are very Aries-like. They might be a bit pushy, a bit impatient, a bit self-oriented kind of bosses. So if you're not exhibiting that, you will attract people in the workspace who are like that, obviously. But there's a higher than average ability to overcome illness, because remember, the sun is vitality, and in Aries in the first house, it's giving you this energy and exalted energy at being able to bring vitality into your life. You'll recover quickly from illnesses. You'll be able to boost your spirits very easily too with this placement. And illnesses will tend to come and go quite fast in and out of your life, not sort of hang around and sort of drag you down for the long term because of this sun vitality. There's likely to be a lot of bursts of energy that come your way, that's the sprint. It's not a long term kind of condition, it's not about running the marathon, it's about sprinting. And so if you have to do anything that requires long-term attention and goal setting and, working for a long period of time towards a certain end, then you might get particularly frustrated because this is not an impatient energy. It is an impatient energy, but it's more like I want to get things done. I want to do them fast. Quick outcomes is what sun in Aries is all about. Remember that the sun is fathers and father figures, so it's possible that your father might have been in an Aries type role. They may have been in the military, they may have been in a competitive industry, they might have been in the sports industry, those kinds of things. Or they might have had a very Aryan nature, being maybe quite playful, self-oriented, very maybe argumentative or passionate and quick to fire up, but also quick to cool down as well, kind of energy in the father with this one. But they might have been somebody who organized strikes or protests, somebody who was an activist, a sports person, and you might have actually had, with the sun in the first house energy, you might have had a lot to do with your father. The sun in Aries energy might be that you might have had a lot of fights with your father, but that would really depend on whether you have a lot of negative aspects, hard aspects, let's call them, to the sun, or whether there's mostly positive aspects, because remember, the sun is exalted in Aries. So you might have played sports together with your father, or been, you might have really enjoyed playing competitive games with your father. Lots of, even if it was just Monopoly or something, there might have been this competitive nature between you that could have been a lot of fun. But this is a wonderful position for expressing your enthusiasm in life, and you will tend to be very energetic about life, very enthusiastic about life. In fact, you are going to keep your youthfulness probably until later age as well, because both the first house and Aries have to do with being young and having a young vitality. So it's not saying that you're going to look like a 20-year-old when you're 60. It's more that you will have the heart of a 16-year-old when you're 60. energy. You will have this beautiful, youthful spirit, this vivacity to you even when you're older, which is truly, truly lovely. And you actually have, because the sun is connected to success, and as I said, building our kingdom in the world, you will have the ability to achieve maybe even above average success in life with the sun in the first house or the sign of Aries. Now, if you have the sun in the first house, it indicates that you're born during sunrise. The sun was just about to come up, boop, over the horizon at the time that you were born. And this is an indication for very special people, those who are born at sunrise. Now, it is also an energy of extreme presence. It's like the vitality of the sun is embodied in your physical expression. So there's a strong presence that you carry with you when you've got this. People will notice you when you walk into the room. It can give magnetic personalities. Often people become very well known. For better or worse, sometimes we can become notorious for not so nice things, but there is this notoriety with the sun in the first house, becoming known. They're noticeable, like shining energy of the sun in the house of you, who you are. So we have larger than life personalities, and it's not necessarily a placement for larger than life bodies, like, big, overblown, overweight kind of bodies, but there's this big energy that is present when people have this placement. And because of this, they can become celebrities. As I said, notoriety is here. Could be that, you get known as Bonnie and Clyde or something, like negative energy, but there can also be the energy of celebrity with this placement as well. Even if it's just notoriety and celebrity within your community circle, within your structure, you might be known for sun qualities like nobility, bravery, being autonomous, being self-directed, these kinds of expressions. And very dramatic people often have the sun in the first house energy, and glamorous people who prefer to work for themselves, because especially in the sign of Aries, if you've got the double combo of sun in the first house and sun in Aries, well, it's going to mean that you are super duper autonomous, and you will struggle to work for somebody else. So sun in the first house people often end up having their own career. So with the sun in the first house, and this is disregarding the Aries placement, we would look at what house the sun rules. In this case, in this example, it's ruling the sign of Leo. And so we would become known for Leo things. In this case, it would indicate perhaps being a celebrity, or we might become known for our abilities with children, or our creativity, or our capacity to write, or our being a socialite, just having lots of fun and pleasure all our life. These are the things we would become known for. So look at where, if you have the sun in the first house, look at where Leo is in your chart, and that sign house placement will tell, in whole sign astrology, will tell you what you may become known for, what you might shine in this lifetime. Having the sun in the first house can be quite a self-oriented position, and to put it in very blunt terms, it could mean at the lower shadow expression that you're a little bit selfish and you're just thinking about the self all the time, or focused your energy on the self all the time. So that might be just something to be aware of. You might want to mitigate that. You may not. It's up to you. This is your life. Live it how you want. This is just your astro wiring. But keep in mind, if you want to do relationships, could be rather difficult having the sun in the first house, because you're going to be so wired to look out for, number one, look out for yourself, that the partner might get tired of that, tired of coming second all the time, tired of not being on an equal footing with you, and the relationship could be quite difficult to maintain. Often very charismatic figures, and I can think of a few in my own personal life who have the sun in the first house, do have this placement. Watch out for becoming tyrannical, especially, now this is if your sun might be in a sign like Scorpio or Capricorn or something, where there is a desire for power with those signs, and so there could be this tyranny element that might pop up when you have the sun in the first house in, say, one of those signs. Not always. Remember, there's shadow and light in everything, and there are some other, obviously, some mitigating factors that can be present in a person's chart. But that can be one of the expressions of this, when the sun goes sour, so to speak. We can take personal credit for everything when we've got the sun in the first house. Oh, yes, I know all about that. Or I told you all about that. Yes. And I, that sort of almost a bit of a know-it-all kind of energy that can be present there. But remember, they're going to be very likable in a sense because there's this aura of the king about them, and we will feel like, oh, we're in the presence of the king. Oh, exciting. With the sun in the first house, and the first house representing how we look, it could be that you look like your father. There is maybe, you have the same lips as your father, or the same, coloring as your father. There might be some even characteristics that you express that are very like your father's as well. So the father has a strong bearing on your appearance with the sun in the first house. We can tend to seek a lot of praise and adoration in life because the sun loves that sort of thing. And in the house of self, we want it. We want that. We desire that, that appreciation, those accolades. And because the sun is career, and this is a house of individuality, there will be an individual uniqueness that is given to the career that you undertake with this placement. So you'll, even if it's an ordinary, mundane kind of a career, you'll put a unique spin on it and make it your own in some way. And you'll identify with a career that you have in your life. The sun is what we identify with, and it's also careers. And in the house of you personally, you're going to very strongly identify with your career and make it your own, give it your own flavor. Remember, we talked about the sun being the illuminator, the giver of light, and to be able to see. Now, you'll find that very often, like I wear glasses because I'm going through midlife and my eyesight is deteriorating. So that's why I wear glasses. But when you are born with the sun in the first house, you may wear glasses at a young age, and you might grow out of needing to wear glasses as you get older. Because the sun, it's almost overwhelming the eyesight when it's in the house of the body. And so there might need to be some support for your eyesight. Certainly everyone I know in my personal life who has the sun in the first house has had to wear glasses at a young age with this. Or it can sometimes, especially if the sun is in Aries in the first house, represent eye injuries, or that there were some problems with an eye. I even had one client at one time who had some injuries at birth that caused them to be blind in one eye. So sun in Aries, first house, can just, double check your eyesight or the eyesight of your children if you have a child with sun in the first house. It doesn't have to be Aries, can be any sign. Make sure that they are able to see. I'll just tell you a story about my own son who has sun in the first house. He, precious little man, we didn't know he had eye issues. I wasn't as deeply into astrology at that time when he was very, very little. But we were driving to the bus one day when he was in like grade prep or 1 or something. And he just got his first pair of glasses. And he said, "Oh, Mum, look at that, they're cows in the paddock. I always thought that they were rocks." And I thought, oh, you poor little darling, you've never even been able to see the cows in the paddocks that we drive by on the way to go catch the bus to school. My heart just broke. I thought, oh, he's been going all these years, maybe 6 or 7 years without having to see properly. So anyhow, that was my mother's heart being activated. But that's what it's like when we have the sun in either Aries or the sun in the first house, how it can manifest for us. I'll catch you next week with a video about the sun in Taurus or the second house.